So, so Edward, welcome to this debriefing session, and congratulations on scoring a 760. Great quant, Q51 V41, perfect quant, really good verbal.
Q50 V41.
Oh,
Yeah,
Q50 V41. Okay,
Q50. Yeah.
okay,
Awesome.
all right. Well, almost
Thanks a lot.
perfect quant score.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Thanks a
we
lot.
were talking about this earlier. So I asked this question: how does it feel? And you said that you had three feelings. What were those three?
Pride, ecstasy, and relief.
Okay, can you want
Those
to
are the three
explain
ones.
why those three feelings?
Proud was because I got that score. It's a coveted score, top 1 percentile. Ecstasy because yes, you will be elated after you get that score, and relief because it's been a hell of a journey. So it's been about 5 attempts to. It took me 5 attempts to get there,
Hmm.
but all's well that ends well. So relief is a
That's
huge
true.
part.
So yeah, so I think let's kind of focus on your last three attempts because yes, it took you 5 attempts, but the first two attempts, as we talked about earlier, you weren't as serious. We shouldn't count them, and really, when
Yeah.
last three attempts is when you truly made an effort. So let's start to let's go back to April of 2020, which is when you purchased the EG course,
Yeah.
somewhere around it. So first, and we didn't talk about this. So why? What was the motivation behind purchasing the course? So what was the driving factor?
So honestly, having given the previous attempt and having done enough research, I knew that like, and given my profile and given my weakness that verbal was my weakness, I
Mhm.
knew that I had to like bank on verbal, and I had to choose a course which is fit for me in terms of verbal. And my research gave me like a clear answer that EG is that course. So
Mhm.
that's one of the major reasons why going with EG and obviously I was not disappointed with it.
So you had started even during the first two attempts sentence correction, critical reasoning before. So when you went through the course, what was different this time? So what was the what changed SC and CR, and then we're going to talk about RC because that was the last attempt.
Yeah. I think SC is also really important because in my previous attempts, I had thought of SC as grammar, but it's
Mm.
not. The reason why it's not called grammar and it's called sentence correction because it's a lot more than just grammar. And that's when EGMAT's approach, the meaning based approach, I think that
Mm.
helped me a lot uh, because I realized that through grammar or through those rules, I could eliminate about three options, but the good questions will still leave you with two options to eliminate, and those
Mhm.
are grammatically right. But that is where the whole meaning-based approach will help you like choose the right option there, right? So that is where SC was a huge benefit for me.
Mhm.
When it comes to CR, CR was tricky because the whole pre-thinking part and like I honestly before EGMAT I did not have any like a set approach in place, but through EGMAT I think the whole pre-thinking approach it took an effort for me to like get it, but once I got it, it really helped. And then identifying the choices, the kind of questions that you go with, that really helped me in CR as well. And yeah, when it comes to RC, like I had a very different approach in RC, and I struggled a lot. So you said we'll talk about RC later, so that's
Yeah,
great.
so I think let's just stay back on SC and CR for
Yeah.
another couple of minutes. So I'm going to go on CR over here, and you've done
Mhm.
a commendable job. And I look at 99% in concept quizzes and 88% in practice quizzes over here. When I really see 84 minutes spent on this learning visualization file, for me, when I look at these, I always look at certain key files over here because those are pivotal files for me. So, and I look at learning visualization, I look at the practice quiz scores. And again, they may be that you've probably done a couple of attempts on these. That's where
Mhm.
these
Mhm.
scores are coming from. But then the time spent on application fine, the diligence shows up. So as you were doing this, I'm sure this took way longer than what you spent on CR in
Yeah.
your first two attempts. What was, I
Yeah.
mean, what was the driving force to that pushed you to say, let's continue going? Even though I'm spending longer, it's okay.
Honestly, I was chasing that score, right? I knew that I had to perfect some aspects of it,
Hmm.
and until and unless I am comfortable with the score that I want,
Hmm.
I'll probably do what it takes. So that is something which just motivated me to keep doing and keep going through those videos again and again, over and over again. That's probably one big thing which I
Okay,
would say. Yeah.
and that's really good. The fact that you knew that without perfection, it'll lead to repetition and wastage of time. That's wonderful. So let's talk about this. So you did that, you had what, a 620, 630 in the first couple of attempts. You improved to a 700 in attempt number 3. Then you said, man, that might have been a bad day because you were scoring well on mocks, on the official mocks. And then you got a 680 on attempt number 4. The attempt number 4 was like 15 days post attempt number 3.
Yeah, it was like 20 days.
20 days.
That's
Okay.
right.
Well, so then you reached out to Nava at EGMAT, right? So what was that? So prior to that, you had not reached out to the customer success team. So then what happened over there? So
after the 680 attempt, right, I was completely shocked in terms of what's the real discrepancy, because I'm scoring pretty well in mocks, but when it comes to exam application, there's something wrong going on there. So I reached out to Nava, and I had my ESR scores, right? ESR reports were out. So I I gave them to Nava as well, and Nava came back with like a thorough, detailed analysis regarding where exactly am I going wrong, not just through the ESR, but he went back and saw my performance on the Scholar Millennium and on the like EGMAT portal, how have I performed. And he pointed out areas, not just in verbal, even in quant. I mean, even though my quant was fairly decent, but he pointed out the part that you're probably like starting off too slow and you're being overcautious. That's something which is leading to a Q49, and maybe you're missing out on 50, 51 there. But especially in verbal, he pointed out the part that RC is one weak section which you really want to target on and just focus upon, which I inherently knew, but that just got validated through data as well. And I think that is something which came out as a strong point, which I knew that, okay, if I'm going for the next attempt, that is one primary area where I have to focus upon.
Okay, and that's wonderful. So then, what did you do? So you had 6 weeks post your 4th attempt, and so how did you spend that time, and then or what did you do? And you said you didn't study a whole lot during those 6 weeks.
Yeah, so I think one thing which I realized in my attempt 3 and 4 was the fact that I'm taking a lot of undue pressure, and I'm attaching too much importance to GMAT, which I shouldn't really do it. So I just eased off a bit, and I picked up, like, I started resuming things which I had let off. I'd resumed my workout, I picked up new hobbies and just went along with things. And I was just spending about probably 1 or 2 hours a day, not even 2, probably like 1.5 hours per day. And the fact that I knew that RC is my weakness, I was spending about 75% of the time just on RC. And even in RCs, I knew that humanities and history passages are something which bothered me. So I was practicing those kind of RCs, and probably about 3 to 4 RCs per day is what I was doing in the last 5 out of the 6 weeks.
Okay. All right. So I think that, and then the other piece that you talked about is you said, I'm not going to worry about the score that I get during my last attempt.
Oh yeah. I think that was important, because what I went was like, I have a 700 in already with attempt 3. Worst case scenario, if things don't work out with my profile, I'll probably like go ahead and apply with a 700 and see what happens. So that basically took that pressure off altogether. And the more important part was like my final attempt was like online exam versus a test center based. So familiar settings, familiar environment. So I took that exam without any pressure. So that helped me as well. I was also having pacing issues in the first few months. So because online exam, there was no break between quant and verbal, I channeled my brain to just wind up early. That helped as well.
Got it. And this is very interesting. So you say even though the test centers, you didn't face any issues with regards to noise or anything. It's just a familiar setting put you at ease when you were at home.
Yeah, that is right. Like, it's just about, I don't know why it happened, but it was just about the part that you're giving, and like there are other people around, and it's just the test center setup. Although I don't face it, but that just happened on those occasions. I was like, okay, let me try it out, and let me try with the home-based environment, which worked out like wonders.
And again, I don't know if this is a factor, but not wearing a mask versus wearing one. So at your home, you don't need to wear a mask. In the test center, you do.
So to be honest, being in Singapore, like mask is a mandatory
It's a
aspect. So
mandatory
I was
aspect.
pretty comfort. Yeah, I was like, I don't think that was a factor which worked against or for me. Maybe inherently at the back of my mind, I don't know, but I don't think that was a major factor
Got it.
because I was pretty comfortable wearing masks in Singapore
Got it.
as such.
Okay. All right. That's good. So that sounds wonderful. So we've done with your preparation. The 760, great score. I think it's finally the score you deserve. 99 percentile. That's good. So let's talk about um, your post GMAT journey and your goals to be get into product management. And we were talking about a set of schools, and you're looking at Kellogg, Tuck, Haas, in the US, and NCR and LBS, and said Cambridge or Cambridge in
Cambridge.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, so we were talking about the US versus Europe, and for you, one big consideration is you want to kind of be close to home, and which is where Europe gives you a leg up over there. But then the piece that you said is product management roles in Europe.
Yeah.
That's something. Yeah, so I think that's a challenge. I mean, you'd probably get product management roles more in and around Berlin, Frankfurt, and in London, if those are three locations. And one of the big challenges when it comes to working in Europe is that what I've seen a lot of people do is essentially wherever they're living, people travel during the week.
Yeah.
Within Europe. So I mean, that's a very common life in Europe, unless and until you're living in those cities.
Mhm.
So yes, that challenge will remain over there. So, but the good thing is, I mean, if you get into LBS, or if you get into or Cambridge, which I think you should, then there is there are jobs there locally right then and there. But
Yeah.
living in London is not so cheap. Well, you've been living
I
in
know.
Singapore, so it's the same thing.
Yeah, but the tax part also comes into play. So London
Yes.
is definitely not the cheaper parts.
Yes. So I think those, for me, when I look at product management, I would look at a few major cities over there, and I think so. Berlin, Frankfurt would
Yeah.
be there again. Relatively expensive, but not as expensive as London is over there. Again, if you want to live on more in the western side over there, but yeah, that's a
Yeah, that's
consideration.
true. Yeah. So as of now, I mean, those are the exact cities which I have shortlisted as well.
Hmm. And they're good cities to live in. They're really good cities to live in.
Yeah.
So, and you might end up learning German too.
True. That's true. I mean, I think I'll probably have to if I have to stay there and live.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, that's one option. Again, US is something which is not on the list. Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, you're right. I mean, in my opinion, apply to both places. In my opinion, I think maybe the virus is a good thing for you. The fact that more and more people are working remotely now, so it gives you that
Yeah.
opportunity to do that. And where from the US, I mean, frankly, the travel is not that bad. I will tell you,
Mhm.
I travel to India, or I used to prior to the pandemic, 3 to 4 times a year.
Mhm.
Uh,
Okay,
it,
not that. Okay, that's not bad at all.
yeah, so I do. I mean, I do it for work, not for personally, because about 70% of EG maths in India.
Yeah.
So so that's why I do that, and it's not bad at all.
Mhm.
So
Got it.
well, again, definitely traveling from Europe is much easier. It's an 8-hour flight, so
Yeah.
that's it. I mean, you've got to, if you eventually want to come back to India. In my opinion, the US culture and Indian culture, they're very similar. European culture, it's
Mhm.
a bit more difficult to adapt to, or to an Indian culture once you come from Europe. So that's kind of for me. When I look at consideration,
Got
I'd
it.
say three considerations. One is you make way more money in the US and than you do
And
in
start.
Europe. And I say way more,
Yeah.
it's just don't look at gross salaries, but what you get in your hand. That's something
Yeah.
which is very different. Um,
Yep.
the second thing is work culture is very similar, and the kind of work that you end up doing. I think the other piece which is there, which I want to not discount, is also the entrepreneurial culture in the US is a lot more liberating, in my opinion, than the same culture being in Europe. Europe is still in my opinion, slightly more hierarchical. It still has the colonial aspect to it.
That's a really important point, Rajat, to be honest, because from a long-term perspective, I do want to explore my entrepreneurship capabilities.
Hmm.
I don't know what, I don't know when, I don't know how,
Hmm.
but that's something which I would want to do,
Hmm.
especially for the fact that my dad also started something on his own. So I think there is something in me which will lead
Hmm.
me to do that. That is also one of the reasons why I want to pursue why I'm doing an MBA in first place. But yeah, so that's a really good factor which I might have to figure out when it comes to US versus Europe. So yeah, thanks for that as
Hmm.
a consideration point.
Yes, I think for me, if that's a big factor, I would say just be in the US. It's just, I think it's just the fact really is, US feels a lot more transparent, and you see people doing stuff around you. I think that's kind of, for me, when I think about myself, I mean, I love going to SF or even LA just because I see pretty much everyone wants to solve a problem.
Yeah, I've been to SF. SF is amazing. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
and having been in Singapore, you can probably see that how the culture over there and the culture in Singapore is different. I mean, both of them big cities, really expensive cities to live in, but in Singapore, it's primarily a service-driven industry, not that many entrepreneurs compared to
Yeah,
SF or even LA. There are way more entrepreneurs over there, and I think that part is something that liberating part is something which you're going to find a lot more in the US, which is where, I mean, when I was in Europe, it's just the people around you are very different.
hmm. Yeah, fair enough. I think I'll have to talk to a lot of folks and
Mm.
come to a decision. So, but at least as of now, let me apply and see
Yeah,
where I get
just
in,
get in there.
and then
And I
see.
think that's when you'll
Yeah.
have to really just see that. I think the other piece, which given your score is likely to happen, is scholarships,
Oh yes, for sure.
right? And US schools give
Yeah.
out way more scholarships than do European schools. And I think that for you is going to be a factor. I don't believe 1 year versus 2 years should be a factor
Mhm.
for anybody. Why? Because you do earn some money in the second year. And second thing is there's just so much long term that
Mm.
that the opportunity to do internships during second year means that the decision that you take post your MBA is just so much more certain about what you want to do.
The other part is when you're like pivoting from one career to other. I think internships definitely do help. So the 1 year
Hmm.
you don't really get to explore a lot of things. So that's also one fact to consider.
Hmm.
So yeah, there are a lot many factors which I have to I'm not landed upon yet,
Hmm.
but I think I will probably navigate and see what happens.
Yeah, the good thing for you is there's no bad choice. I think there's one which is better than the other, given what you want to do. And if, for
Yeah.
example, you said, I want a peaceful life, I want a good life, I want a life where there's a lot more security, then Europe comes up
Mm.
out there. Why? Because job security is a lot higher over there. The government will take care of you, no matter
Yeah.
what. Doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah.
And so all of those things are there. But then if you want to say, I want the freedom to chart my own course, even not just when I go back to India, but also when I'm there, then the US is going to give you that much more opportunity, is what I would say.
True.
So I mean, that's kind of one of those two decisions that you'll have to make. But I think good thing is with the 760 score, you are well positioned.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Oh, you are. I mean, it's just your background and I mean, you I think pretty well positioned for this. Now, I didn't ask. Are you working with an admission consultant?
So I am. I'm working with this consultant, like with Aringo Services.
Okay.
I've just taken two schools as of now from them.
Mhm.
So I'm exploring other consultant. Just I mean, I do not have any. I really have amazing feedback about Aringo. It's just the fact that it's on the expensive end. So if I'm targeting other schools, I am looking at like just for my essays perspective, I'm looking at consultants if I can like find any.
How
I
much is
by the way
Aringo?
reached Aringo is costing me about 5K
For
around
two
two
schools.
schools.
For two
Yeah,
schools.
yeah.
Okay. You said you reached out to?
I reached out to Poonam just a couple of days back.
Yeah, I think
I
she's
haven't heard back.
booked.
I think Poonam will be
Yes, she's
very
booked.
busy or booked.
She's
Okay, fair
booked.
enough.
Yes, she's. I don't know if she has time in December,
Mhm.
but I know in November she is booked.
Got it. I'm probably because I'm just targeting one school and I just need like essay help. So that's there. But I think like you guys have helped me out with applicant lab already.
Mhm.
So I'm like on the parallel. I'm also like chalking out that option and seeing like I'm doing things on my own, because that's an amazing tool. It's just the fact
Yes.
that I don't think I've explored it well enough yet, because I'm right now in the process of getting a lot of information about schools and talking to a lot of alums. That's my stage right now, to get as much info as possible. Maybe starting this week itself is when I'll start building stories and essays and LL, because I've already done NCR,
Mm.
so I have a base of sorts. Now it's just about different schools
Insert is
and
the
writing.
biggest application.
Yeah, but I've got that out of the way, so I have a lot of content at hand which I
That's
can
good.
use.
That's good.
So that's one aspect.
Good. I think this is really good. I mean, you have a solid path forward, is what I would really say. And you're applying to some of the best schools, some of the schools that I really love. I mean, the three schools that you're applying to from a culture standpoint, I really like these three schools: Kellogg, Tuck,
Mhm,
and Haas. I've not been to LBS, well, I have been
mhm.
to LBS in 2003, so not visited
Oh,
LBS since then. So
mhm.
so but yeah, Kellogg, Tuck, and Haas, I love the culture at these three schools. They're very collaborative. Um,
That's one of my primary factors as well to consider while choosing
yes,
schools. So
yeah. So I mean, good luck, and do keep me posted as
thank
you
you
hear
for sure,
from either from INSEAD or any of these schools.
for sure, Rajat.
Okay, and I think if you when you do that, in my opinion, apply to UCLA too. I think you'd have
Sure,
the
I know.
you will have done the groundwork by then.
Yeah, for sure. It's just about like, if do I have enough time? That's something which I have to figure out. And if I do, I will like I'll still research and see what
Yes.
makes sense. Go.
Okay. All right. Well, good work. Good luck, and thank you for being a student. And I wish you all the best. Just keep me posted.
Thanks a lot, Rajat.
Mhm.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Cheers.